Hello.
Hey Maris, how are you today?
Pretty good.
It's great to hear. Pretty good, like really good, or like good with a it could be better.
Really good.
That's
I got
I love hearing that.
I
How
got a cool science project for biology and it's like actually fun.
what kind of topic or project do you have?
You gotta make a 3D model of a animal that is endangered, and the like group of animal that I got was birds,
Birds.
which is good because I can draw those.
You can draw birds. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
when you draw a bird, do you start from the side? Yeah, do you draw kind of the outline? How do you draw a bird?
It's like you usually start with the head of the bird and then you,
Head,
you
beak,
go down.
eyes. Interesting. I read an article last year on owls, and there's this perception that they have a different proportion than we draw them with a different proportion than they actually have in nature. I can't
They're
remember
just
exactly
like
what it was. Like I think we make
really
the eyes
fluffy.
bigger, yeah, and fluffy, and they're actually not like that at all. We have the dimensions all wrong proportionally. So cool. Cool. Well, we do have to do some math today. How did math go last week? I think you might add a test.
Yeah, it was really good. It was
Oh,
like 14 out of 16.
that's great. That's you can't do better than perfect, and you're almost there. You're almost to full mark on that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I don't see anything in my inbox here. At least I'll check
Yeah,
all
we
the other.
didn't have any homework today or yesterday
Okay,
because
what are you guys
yesterday we
working on in
kind of
class?
um data and statistics.
Okay,
It's
so
kind of
like mean, median mode,
yeah,
box plots, anything like that.
yeah.
Okay, great. Now, remind me, are you guys using a TI 83, 84 in class? Because it'll do some of this for you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let me find some problems for us to work on. We can alternatively do some SAT prep. What would you, or split? Do you have a preference?
Uh I think we'd split.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I'm just pulling up some problems here. I can make them, but it's a lot easier if we just do problems that are given. Um, Except these have too many data points. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and all right, start with this. All right, you will definitely need a calculator at some point today. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started here. All right, so first thing when you're given some set of numbers like this is to determine the median, the middle number. They'll even say that it'll say, what is the median? The median is the middle number. And before you can get the middle number, you have to put the data in order. All right, so when I do this, I always you kind of scan the data, look for the smallest, and then cross it out. Now, and you don't have it in front of you, but if you did, you would cross it out. Then you look for the next smallest, which is 3, but there's 2 of them. Then you keep scanning, looks like there's a 4. There's a 5, 6, 7, a 9, and a 10. So you put the data in order. That's typically very important to do. The next thing is to count the data for 2 reasons. One, you want to actually make sure that you wrote the same number of numbers that are given, and you actually do need the total. So could you quickly count this for us?
Sure. 47.
I'm sorry, you added them up. I'm asking just to count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and do the same thing up here. Make sure it's the same.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's all the same.
So 9 totals. You need that. You need to know how many there are. And
Oh, that's what you meant.
yeah. All right. And so that number 9, there are two types of calculations for the median. It's based on whether there's an odd number of numbers or an even number of numbers. So when there's an odd number of numbers like this, there's exactly one middle value. So the median in your data set is 5. Do you see that there are 4 left and 4 right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys talk about quartile 1?
A little bit.
Okay, so quartile 1 comes from the lower half of the data. So it's essentially finding the median of those 4 numbers, the median again. And you might say, well, there's not a middle number. I would agree. There's not a middle number here, but there's 2 middle numbers. So what is the average of these 2 middle numbers?
3.
3. So that's quartile 1. Similarly, we do the same thing for quartile. It's called quartile 3. You look at the middle 2 numbers here. What is the average of those 2 middle numbers?
8.
8. And then lastly, you can determine the min and the max by just looking at it.
2
min,
and 3, or 2
2,
and 10.
2 and 10. And this is your 5 number summary. Do you have your TI 8384 available?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my virtual TI 8384 and we'll look at how to do this on the calculator now. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Use a little technology in the classroom. Okay, I'm going to share that calculator. I think you've seen this before. All right, so in your calculator, if you haven't used it in a while or you're not sure what's changed, sometimes you have to clear it out or reset it. To do that, you would go to second mem and then go down to reset. You don't need to do that right now, but I just wanted to point that out in case you do. You hit 7 and follow the prompt. But for today, we are going to go to stat, hit the stat button there. Let me know when you see this.
Yeah, I see it.
You're going to hit enter for edit. And you should see L1, L2, L3.
Yeah,
Do you see that?
I see that.
Okay, so we want to enter all the data in L1. So I'll do it here with you. 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Let me know if you need me to scroll up to see any of those values.
I got it.
Okay. Once you have the value in your lists or the once you have that in your list, you can quit out of there, second quit. There's no home button. It's just a quit button. It's kind of old school. And then you go back to stat. So you go back where you started stat. Let me know when you're back here.
I'm back there.
You go over to calc. And then you choose this one var stats, one variable stats. And hit enter. No, in yours, it might display something besides one var stats. What does yours display?
Yeah, it just has one bar stats.
All right, you got an older model like this one here. You have to supply it the list. So to do that, you're gonna hit the second button and then L1, which is above the 1. So it should look something like that.
Yeah.
And then you hit enter. All right. Now, do you see X bar equals 5.44444 on yours?
Yeah.
Great. Now, if we scroll down, if we hit the down arrow here, there's the min, there's Q1, there's the median, there's Q3, and there's the max. Is that consistent with what we wrote down before?
Yeah.
It is. It is. Okay, so your calculator will do all this for you. This is where you got to talk to your teacher and say, hey, can I use the calculator? And they might say yes, but you still have to show your work, which really nullifies using the calculator, but that is the situation here. All right, so any questions on that before we go back to working some out by hand?
No.
Fantastic. All right, so let's go back and look at a new problem here. All right, and let's see if I can find a data set here for us to work on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These all have the same number of datas. Okay, well, let me make one up here. Let's say the data set is 1, 4, 12, 15, 8, 10, and 11. I want you to calculate the min, Q1, the median, Q3, and the max. But first start by putting the data in order, smallest to largest.
Yeah. I got 1, 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, and 15.
1, 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 15. How many numbers do you see here?
7.
7. So is there a middle number?
Yes.
There is. What is that? What is that median? What is that middle number?
10.
Good. All right. And then what I like to do is kind of circle those upper and lowers. Is there a middle number this time for each of those?
Yes. 4 and 12.
4 and 12. What's the min? What's the max?
1 and 15.
Yes. Very good. All right. Now we're going to jump back to the calculator because I want to show you a few more features of the calculator. Let's jump back to that. All right. So if you go back to stat and then you hit edit, you will see the data you have from list 1. All right. Now to remove the data, there's 2 possibilities. One is to actually hit delete, 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 right? Like that gets really tiring, but that does work. Okay. Let's say it was a really long list. You would not want to do that. So what you can also do is go up to L1, hit the clear button, followed by enter, and your list will evaporate. But you want to be careful that you don't delete list 1. That would be bad. That's when you might have to reset your calculator. All right. So what I want you to do here is enter in the new data points. if you still have them written down, or let me know, I can go back to that. I'd like you to do the same thing. Enter the data, go back to stat, calc, one variable stats, list one, and see what you come up with for, see if it's the same as what you wrote down.
They are the same.
Right, so let's go back to the other screen here, and let's look at a new data set and talk about some new possibilities. Okay, so let me give you, let's look at a new data set. I'm going to put this in order this time. All right. Okay, so here's a new data set. It's already in order, so there's nothing to do from here. It's already in order. How many data values do you see? How many data points are there?
8.
There are 8. And I mentioned order earlier, there's a couple ways to calculate median based on whether there's an even or an odd number of numbers. So when there are an even number of numbers like this, you have to take 2 middle values and calculate that. So this time it's 31.
Yeah.
Now to find quartile 1, what's a little frustrating here, it's not really a consistent rule, is you actually go back and break the data set right in half, and then you find the median and the median of each of these. So in this case, you've got to find the average and the average of those. But it could be a decimal. That's possible, even likely.
I got 20.5 for the
Okay.
15 and 26, and for 60, 67 divided by 2. It's not a whole number. Okay.
And what do you get for that?
At 33.5.
Okay, very good. So one more of these, because I got to make one other point here, which is it's very 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is. Okay. All right. So here's your data set again. There are 6 numbers this time. Can you calculate the median for me, please?
13.
Here's 13. Now, when you split the data set in half now, you have 3 below and 3 above. Notice the previous problem, we had 4 below and 4 above. We had to then find the average, but this time there is just a middle number for quartile 1 and quartile 3. So there's no certain rules. It's case by case for this. So this time quartile 1 is 3 and quartile 3 is 16. Any questions or thoughts on that?
No.
All right. Okay, really quickly here, let's say your exam scores were 90, 78, and then 85. Actually, let's do 95. Could you calculate the average of these 3 numbers for me, please? And you can round to 1 decimal place.
Uh, 87.7.
7.7, good. So most schools, this would not be considered an A. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you had a 4th exam, but we didn't know the score. Does this sound like something you might do as a student? You'd say, I don't know my last exam score yet, but I really want my average to be a 90, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you find the average of these 4 numbers? I know you don't know the value of the last one, but could you tell me in words what you would do to find the average?
Uh,
What did you do to find the average of these 3 numbers?
I added them up and divided them by
By what number?
3.
3. And why 3?
Because there's 3
There's 3 numbers.
terms. Yeah.
So now you could do the same thing, even if you don't know the value of X. But you know it's a number. What would you divide by though? If you knew the number, what would you divide by?
4.
4. And what do we want this to be to get that grade of A? We really want it to be 90.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can solve this. This is an equation that you know how to solve. The numerator is in parentheses. How would you eliminate the 4 on the bottom? What could you do to undo division by 4?
Add all the things. Wait.
Before that, just focus on this, the 4 down at the bottom. How would you undo division by 4?
Multiply by 4.
Multiply by 4, yeah. So now that clears the 4. What does the right side become?
360.
360. And then from here, you add these 3 numbers, 90, 78, 95. Bring them down, but you would add them up.
263 plus x, yeah.
Okay. All right. How do you solve for x? What's the last thing?
Get 263 to the other side.
Okay.
$97.
97. So to summarize, to get that 90% in the class, to get that A, you have to get a 97 on the final. What do you think about that? Does that seem doable if this were the case? Sorry.
Yeah,
Possible. It's possible.
possible.
Now let's say you're saying, you know what, I've got a B. I'm happy with a B. Now let's look at it from the perspective of what do you need to keep your B? What number is usually associated with a B or really low B? Like 90 is an A. What's the next
Like
threshold?
80,
Let's go 80.
80 and up. Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to do the same thing we just did, solving this equation for X, but with 80. And I think you'll be very surprised at how small that this number actually is. But do you understand what I'm asking? Do you feel like you can do that here?
Yeah.
How are you doing on this
57.
one? 57. Okay. Help me out here. Did you multiply both sides by 4?
Oh, I did not.
All right. Well, that's going to definitely disrupt your answer. So 320. So go ahead and solve it from here.
I got the same answer.
Okay, yeah, just making sure. Sorry, I
Oh, I
think I
thought you
had a,
meant it in the way.
yeah, when you said you didn't multiply four, I was like, huh, but I wonder if she did something else here. So yeah, 57. So what we saw is to get a B, you need a 57, and to get an A, you need a 97. So it's fairly, fairly different, right? Like to get a 57, you probably just show up and put your name on the paper and do some work, but then you leave. To get an A, you really got to work it out pretty hard, to get the full grade.
Yeah.
Okay, so ready to do some SAT prep? Our last
Yeah.
little bit here. We'll do some mean, median, some of that kind of stuff here as well. I've got some questions prepared for you. All right, I really like this question. I use it with a lot of students here. I want you to look at the data set, and don't want you to, what I don't want you to do is calculate the mean of the data set. They give you data set A, data set B. It says which of the following statements correctly compares the means of data set A and data set B. I don't want you to calculate the mean. I want you to see if you can tell me which one is larger or smaller and why. Just looking at it, like maybe there's something that stands out to you and you're like, oh yeah, I can tell that the mean is bigger or smaller, and here's why.
Data set A because it has a larger range.
I agree. I agree. Now let's look at the full question in context here with the answers. Let's get those snipped in. All right. So whenever you see a which of the following question, you really have to look at the answers first and go through them and see, like, what are they saying? It says the mean of each data set is 4. They're saying that both data sets have the same mean. You already said no, no, no. One is bigger than the other. B is kind of related. The mean of each data set is 4. That's not true. Hopefully that's clear because they're different. What do C and D say, and how are they different? What's the difference between C and D? Could you look at that for us?
It's like the mean of the data sets are greater, less than
Yes,
the
exactly.
yeah.
And that's kind of what we were talking about here. You don't need to do a calculation. You just need to know which one's bigger, which one's smaller, and why. So what would be your answer here? Which is bigger, which is smaller?
The data set A is bigger, is greater.
Yes. So which answer would you select?
D.
Good. Okay. This is a really similar problem. I'm going to do it kind of in stages here. I want you to look at this graph here. And a lot of times on standardized testing, you just have to decide what's the same or what's different about them. Can you look at these two data sets and tell me what's the same and what's different?
Uh, Data set A has a little thing off to the side, and
Yeah, it's got one more data value over here off to the side. Okay. So now let's look at the problem. And you're welcome to read all this, but sometimes you just go right to the answers. That's a test taking strategy we'll talk about. Notice you don't have to calculate the mean. You just have to know which one is different, bigger, smaller, same.
yeah, it'd be A.
They're the same. But
Yeah.
you just said that there's like one extra data value here.
Oh yeah.
So they can't be the same because they're not the same data.
Then it'd be B.
Mean of data set A is greater than the mean of data set B. I agree. I agree. Now, are you surprised to learn that you don't have to actually calculate the mean?
A little.
Yeah, most students are. They're like, wait, why don't I have to do the thing that I thought I had to do my whole life? All right, now I'm going to snip in a graph here. Wait, where did that go? There it is. Okay. I'm going to do this. We're going to call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So one of the skills that you need to know before I can give you another question is to understand how these frequencies work. Okay, so what it means in terms of your data set, this is your data set 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay. I want you to look at this first column here and then the second column here and tell me why this is correct, why this is the data set down here.
Because it, like the two averages out.
Frequency is like a count. So how many ones did I write down here?
Oh yeah, 2 1s.
2 ones because there's a count of 2. How many 2s did I write?
5 because
Because there's
there's
5.
5.
So I'm going to keep going here. There's 3 3s. There's 2 4s. And there's 1 7. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to find the mean and then the median. And you're welcome to use your calculator. You are welcome to use the techniques we talked about earlier. Sometimes it helps to know how many numbers there are. 2, 5, 3, 2, and 1. So there are 2 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 total. Looks like there are 13 numbers. That might help.
Okay, so I got the minimum is 1, the quartile 1 is 2, median is, wait,
Okay, yeah, give me the median. We can get to other stuff. I just wanted the mean and the median. Sorry for not
the
being
mean and
clear.
median.
Yeah,
The
median.
median's 2.
Good. And if you didn't have a chance to do the mean, could you calculate that now for us?
Yeah. I got 2.8.
Yes, did you get like a little bit more rounding, but like 36? No, if you got 36 divided by 13.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right. So one final question here for us to look at today. It's related to that. I don't know if we'll have time to do it all, but we'll just set it up and maybe leave it from there. So here we go. Got a last question. Is based on the histogram above, which of the following is the closest to the average arithmetic mean number of seeds per apple? So we've got how many threes do you see?
I got 2 3s.
So that's a 3, 3. How many fives do you have?
4.
So 5, 5, 5, 5, 1 6, 2 7s, and 3 9s. Could you close out today by just finding the median, just the median for us?
Median. Uh, 5.5.
So it is the average of the two middle numbers because there's 12 total right there. Very good. Awesome. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop there for today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.